Alright, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. Robert Downey Jr. is back in the MCU, but not as Iron Man. He's returning as Doctor Doom in the next Avengers film. And ever since that announcement, one question has been floating around the fandom. Was this stunt casting? What I mean by that is, have they picked him to play Dr. Victor Von Doom just because he's Robert Downey Jr.? Or does this decision have a deeper meaning than that? Because when you really think about it, bringing back the actor who played Iron Man, the single most important character in the MCU, to now play arguably one of the biggest villains in the entire Marvel universe. You would think there has to be a reason behind that. Now the question is, what is that reason? Is the reason simply because he's Robert Downey Jr., arguably the face of the MCU, the guy who started it all, and that his name, his presence, and his star power are just going to bring people into the theater and put eyes on the project? Because let's be honest, that would be a pretty smart move, especially coming out of, or still being within, the multiverse saga, which definitely has had its ups and downs. There have been hits, there have been misses. Probably more hits than people give it credit for, but still, you have to admit that the multiverse saga has had its problems. So bringing back someone like Robert Downey Jr., the guy who played Tony Stark, the guy who played Iron Man, the guy who started it all, and basically ended it all on a massive high note in Avengers Endgame, bringing him back now to play a massive villain. That could absolutely be seen as a great marketing move. That's one way to look at it. Argument 1. This was story-driven casting. Let's start with the most optimistic explanation. Maybe this wasn't stunt casting at all. Maybe this was purely about the story, because according to Kevin Feige, the decision started with the villain, not the actor. He said, "We had to find the next villain that could carry the saga forward." That's a really important line, because after the multiverse saga struggled to find a clear central threat, Marvel needed someone who could anchor the next phase of the MCU. And that someone is Doctor Doom, not Kang, not another multiverse variant. Doctor Doom, and then Anthony Russo and Joe Russo, who are returning to direct the next Avengers films. They made it very clear that they didn't come back just for nostalgia. They said, "We wouldn't come back unless there was a story big enough to justify it." That's huge, because these are the same directors who walked away after Endgame, the biggest movie in Marvel history. So for them to return, there had to be something significant, something ambitious, something worth telling. And from comments made by the Russo brothers, Kevin Feige, and Downey himself, it seems they had been in conversation for quite a while before this was made public. They had been looking for a way, or at least Downey had been looking for a way to come back. Kevin Feige had been looking for a way. The Russos had been looking for a way. And all parties agreed that they weren't coming back unless there was a really good reason and a good story to tell. So that leads directly into the third possibility, that this was simply the perfect time for Downey to come back. That this is a new challenge for him, a story that the Russo brothers wanted to tell, and he is the actor they wanted to portray this character. The guy that played the ultimate hero, now playing the ultimate villain. And honestly, I can understand that way of thinking, because for Downey, from his perspective, this is a massive new challenge. He spent over a decade being the hero. Now he gets to be the villain. Can he pull that off? Can he be as compelling in that role as he was as Tony Stark? That's a fascinating question. Argument 2. This was strategic casting. Now let's look at the second possibility. Maybe this wasn't purely about the story. Maybe it was about strategy, because the truth is, whether people want to admit it or not, the MCU has been in a rebuilding phase. Box office performance has been inconsistent. Audience confidence has been shaky, and the franchise has been searching for momentum. So bringing back Robert Downey Jr. might not be a desperate move. It might be a calculated one. because there is no actor more closely associated with the MCU than Robert Downey Jr. He started it, he carried it, and for a lot of fans, he still represents the peak of the franchise. Even Kevin Feige acknowledged the impact of the announcement. He said, "We knew the announcement would get attention." That's not subtle, that's an admission that this decision had marketing value. And ultimately, one thing that this move will absolutely accomplish, and already has, is putting eyes on the project. It's bringing people back, it's building buzz, and Marvel has already succeeded in that respect. So if that is stunt casting, then maybe this is stunt casting. And if that was part of the decision, then maybe that's something worth examining. And maybe it's understandable why some people would feel a certain way about that. And honestly, I can agree with that to a certain level. Argument 3. This is plot integral casting. Now here's where things get really interesting, because there is another possibility. And that is that Robert Downey Jr.'s casting is actually integral to the story itself. Because think about this, they didn't cast a random actor as Doctor Doom. They cast the actor who played Tony Stark. And the fact that the guy playing Doctor Doom now looks like Tony Stark, that has led to one of the most popular fan theories on the internet, especially on Reddit, that his casting has a deeper meaning, that there is some connection between his role as Doctor Doom and his previous role as Tony Stark. Maybe Doom comes from another universe. Maybe he represents a darker version of Stark. Maybe the story explores the idea that the hero who saved the universe could also have become its greatest threat. That's a really compelling idea. But there has also been information floating around from leakers and insiders suggesting that this might not be the case at all, that there is no connection between Downey's Doctor Doom and Tony Stark. And I've got to say, personally, if that turns out to be true, that would feel like a massive missed opportunity, because there are so many interesting ways they could explore that connection within the multiverse. But again, if that's not the case, and they've simply brought him back as Doctor Doom with no direct connection to Tony Stark, I can understand that too. The risk, expectations versus reality. And here's where this whole situation could become complicated, because the truth could be far more complex than we're led to believe right now. There could be a lot being kept under wraps about his role, about what his presence really means, about what Robert Downey Jr. playing Victor Von Doom actually represents in the story. And that makes sense. Marvel is known for secrecy. They're known for surprises. So there are probably a lot of things they want to keep hidden until audiences see the film. But the real potential problem here is expectations. Because if the fan base builds up an expectation in their minds about the deeper meaning of this casting, and those expectations aren't met, if he simply is playing Doctor Doom with absolutely no connection to Tony Stark, will people be disappointed, or will his performance be good enough that it doesn't matter? That's the real question. Ultimately though, one thing is undeniable. This move has already worked. It has put eyes on the project. It has generated massive buzz. It has made this film feel like an event. And right now, everything we're hearing about the film and about Downey's portrayal of Doctor Doom has been extremely positive. We should be getting a trailer in the next few weeks. Attendees at CinemaCon have already seen footage, and everyone who has seen it has reportedly been blown away. So at this point, only time will tell. And honestly, I can't wait to see what they do with it. So now I want to hear from you. Was Robert Downey Jr.'s casting as Doctor Doom stunt casting? Was it a strategic move? Or is this decision going to be central to the story of the next Avengers films? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.